On the surface, choosing an Aygo looks easy, but you do actually have quite a bit of choice. So what I thought I'd do is go through the original 6 Mark II models on offer and give my opinions on which one or ones are worth your money. The base model Aygo is simply called the X model, not to be confused with the Aygo Cross, aka X, that has recently come out. This is just the entry-level Mark II. The basic model gets you extras like remote locking, 14-inch steel wheels, a radio with MP3 compatibility, and LED daytime running lights, which isn't bad at all for an entry-level offering. I mean, the Germans tend to just charge you extra for a freaking steering wheel. So still, should you buy this one? Well, I went looking for Aygos similar to mine in year, which is 2014-2015, and mileage, which is around 40,000, and I think you should probably skip this version, as the cheapest non-cat Aygo that popped up was this little red Butte at $6,000, which I think is a tad expensive considering I got my X-Play version for just £600 more. It's also worth noting that I stuck to dealers here as I just couldn't be bothered buying private. That's just me, but there are savings to be had if you do. I'm just lazy. If you are on a budget, you could get an X model with much higher mileage for about £600 cheaper, but I just don't think it's worth bothering with, and the number of available X models on Auto Trader kind of bears this out, with only 87 currently available compared to 563 for the next version up, and that's the X-Play. As mentioned, I have the X-Play and it comes with extras like 15-inch steel wheels, heated and electronically adjustable door mirrors, a 4-speaker sound system with DAB radio, manual aircon, and based on the example I found, it is absolutely a better buy than the base model. This one I found has much lower mileage and full history, so I'd be going for this one over the base model. I do have to talk about my particular X-Play though, as it comes with a few more extras than what is suggested by Toyota on the retail versions. Mine came with a rear camera and privacy glass on the rear windows, as well as a 7-inch touchscreen, so do look at the versions carefully, as the one you pick might have some nice little extras, which is always a win. And higher mileage versions of the X-Play go for as little as 2,750, and I wouldn't be put off by the high mileage examples, as Aygos are generally bulletproof. And to test this, ask yourself this question: when was the last time you saw an Aygo that had broken down? Exactly. Go for the X-Play over the base model. Much more choice on the second-hand market too. And before we look at the next version of the Aygo, if you're enjoying this video so far, please leave a like, as it helps the channel and the video in general. Moving up from the X-Play gets you the Express model, with red highlights on the bumper, rear diffuser, highlights on the sills, a roof decal, as well as a 7-inch touchscreen as standard, 15 black or black machined alloys, which I think look great, as well as a reverse camera. As I mentioned previously, my X-Play has some of these options, and I was wondering, is my car just like a secret Express? But it turns out it is an X-Play, just that someone spec'd up when they bought it. This example is obviously a bit more expensive, with it being a 2018 model, but it is a real jump from the base non-spec'd X-Play. Still, it's not one I'd recommend for myself personally, just because those red accents really kill me. I do like the black wheels though, and if you do fancy the Express on the cheap, you can pick up higher mileage examples for just under 7,000, but I'd skip this model as it doesn't really offer anything tangible of an upgrade for me. But if you're comparing this to the vanilla X-Play, then it is quite a big jump. Still, those red highlights are a nope from me. Now, if you want that extra tech from the get-go without the hideous red highlights, the X-Style is the one I'd go for, as it's similar to the Express but more fashionable, with cherry-picked accessories and contrasting front extension and rear diffuser, and I'd go for this one if the next one didn't exist. But it does. So I mean, you can get a cheap X-Style for just under 7k, but this colour, ugh, nah, it's not working. Now that next one up is the X-Clusiv, which comes in unique colours like Cyan Splash. Woo! Side note, you can actually find this on the Style too, because I've looked on Auto Trader and seen it, so I mean, that wouldn't be too bad if you can get it in like a nice cyan blue. But this version, the X-Clusiv, has 15-inch machined face, 5-spoke alloys. I think the dark ones look better, and it also features dark leather seats, as well as a tech upgrade coming loaded with smart entry, and this is a real differentiator here, and I feel like, you know, you just get more for your money, especially when you look at it, the example I found. It's really only £200 to £300 more than the Express and X-Style with similar mileage, and it gets you much more than the jump from the X-Play to the X-Style does, in my view anyway. So if you're feeling flush, go for this one. You can get higher mileage versions for around 6,300, which is worth looking at if you want all that tech and aren't worried about the mileage. Last but not least is the X-Claim, which they apparently only made 350 vehicles of, and it's only available in white and comes with this retractable canvas roof and burgundy highlights on the interior. I have no idea why Toyota seems obsessed with burgundy, but there you go. I'm not going to say much on this version as I think it's largely pointless, especially here in the UK. We get like 2 days of sun, so that roof will be unused for 363 days of the year. So now, we've not said all we need to say here because we've covered the models, but let's get into the weeds a little bit. Now, what about 5-door versus 3-door? Which one should you choose? In my view, it's the 5-door all day long, and I say this just because it's endlessly more convenient and useful. Whether you're throwing your bag in the back, taking your dog out to the Dales for a walk, or transporting the odd passenger, 5 doors will just make your life easier, trust me. A more interesting question though, and this is one I loop in my head quite often, is should you get the manual or automatic? Now, of course, if you opt to shop around for a manual, you're just going to have more choice. That's the country we live in the UK. Manuals are weirdly more popular than automatics. And thinking about it, should you get the manual or automatic? I honestly think you should strongly consider getting an automatic, and I'll tell you why. The clutch on the manuals is just rubbish. It is hot garbage rubbish. It's just not good. Now, I know you can adjust it, but it's not going to fix how vague it feels or how flimsy it is in general. If I'd have known what I do now, I'd have probably looked for an automatic just because of what I now know. Having said that, I have no experience with the automatic, so it's a bit of a, grass is greener on the other side kind of thinking. So if any of you have experience driving the automatic version of the Aygo, drop a comment below letting us know what it's like. I'd love to especially hear like how reliable the autos are and how they handle like steep inclines, as I've taken the manual Aygo to the Yorkshire Dales recently, and you really have to make the most out of the lower gears to actually get up the hills. Either way, I think you should strongly consider an auto. Do the homework before and just think about it, because you'll just avoid that annoying clutch. Now, don't worry about it being more lethargic than the manuals. The car is lethargic on the whole anyway. You aren't buying this car for speed. The only thing left to consider is the facelift model from 2018 onwards. Should you get this one over the OG Mark II? Yes, if your budget can stretch and you desperately want the new styling and LED front and rear lights. I actually really love those rear lights, by the way, and want to add them onto my Aygo, but I'm resisting this far. But yes, if you want the styling, then shoot for the facelift, but the tech per model inside will be mostly the same. And if you feel like you still have loads of questions about the Aygo in general and whether you should buy one or not, go and watch these videos immediately, and I'll see you there.